Welcome to day 2 of the All Things Thighs series. We're going to get started right in the belly position.
All right, so the block will be directly over top of the belly button, flat on the floor, horizontal to your mat. And just take time getting into this position. And you can, of course, start up on the elbows.
And to begin, let's just focus on the inhalation phase of the breath. This teaches us where the breath should come from. So you're actively moving the belly into the block as you inhale, even getting a sense that your body is lifting up toward the ceiling. And the rule of thumb is your breath is your guide. As long as you're breathing in a relaxed way, you are feeding and healing your cells. If something hurts so much that it takes that relaxed breath away, then we need to back off and do this less intensely. This work can also be done on a bed. And just become aware of the sensations you may be experiencing. Pressure, pain, and even a pulse are totally normal. If you do feel that pulse, sometimes it can be a little unnerving. That's the aorta. As you go through this process, it becomes less intense, but I still feel it years in. So that's just letting you know that your heart is pumping nice and strong, so nothing to be concerned about, as long as you can breathe through it. And always breathing in and out through the nose if possible. Now taking your attention to the exhalation phase of the breath. Allow your body weight and gravity to do the work as the block sinks deeply into the core. And you want the breath to be relaxed, but full and complete. We want to work to the end ranges of that inhale and exhale, but we don't want to force the breath. So if you can actually hear yourself breathing, let's see if we can tone that down a little bit so that you don't hear yourself. And now as you're settling in, allow that exhalation to be even slower. Let's do an exhale for a count of 6 and an inhale for a count of 4. And now with that exhale, let's even connect to the root as you exhale. So when we're simply lying on the block, the root is that squeezing the anus action. That action moves the pubic bone more toward the floor. It helps to create more length in the core, and it allows you to access that exhalation even more fully. So as you exhale, connect to the root, inhale, release. And we'll take 3 more full, slow breaths here. And when you're ready, place your hands under your shoulders and exhale up. So to start, let's just have everyone lie on your back. We're just going to begin with a bit of a hip stretch that will target the upper part of the IT band. So you can take that right leg straight, and now we're going to take that left leg into your hand. So grab the outer side of your thigh with your left hand, and then take the shin here with your right hand, and just start to pull the leg into the chest. We don't want to force, we just want to pull and hold and feel in your hip into the leg. Wherever you may be feeling those restrictions, those adhesions, we're going to check in when we've done our left side to see what kind of changes we make. We'll take 3 more breaths here. Really just close your eyes and get in touch with that area. Observe where you feel any pain or limitation. And when you're ready, you can exhale up, and we're going to dive right in to that left IT band. So you're going to be on your side, and the block will be flat, and we're going to start with the position just above the knee.
So being on your left side, the block will be flat. And if you've done the IT band position before, then you know we're going to be more so using the edge of the block digging in here. So the edge that's closer to your head. And once we're here, we're just going to roll on directly to our side.
So you can stay up on your elbow, or you can even come flat. Be comfortable for this first period of this time. So how we're going to start here, we just want to get a little action to begin with. So as we inhale, we're going to drop the feet toward the floor. As we exhale, we're going to just lift the feet up off the floor. And we're just going to go through 5 or 7 breaths just in this manner, just to get the ball rolling so we can start heating up this area. So we exhale, we lift up. Inhale, we drop down. Feeling any pain yet, Quinn?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Don't we sound sadistic? We get so excited when we can find pain here. And let's take 3 more breaths here, and let's really tie in that exhalation here as we lift up to exhale. Let's connect to that root and see if we can hold for a moment before engaging that inhalation. That power of the exhalation is what moves the pain and all of the waste out of the body. And let's just do 1 more of those. And then, just like in day 1, what we're going to do now is we're going to roll up. So we're going to roll up onto that right knee, onto the elbows, and you're going to be more on top of that lateral quadricep IT connection.
And this leg might be blocking my left leg, so you can't really see what's going on, but ultimately it's looking just like this. But then I'm going to bring my knee down just for more support.
And address your upper body so that you feel nice and balanced in your core and your rib cage. And then let's see if we can toggle that leg left to right, just to persuade a little bit of a deeper connection in toward that femur bone. And we're going to be up here for another 45 seconds or so. The IT band is a super thick band of fascia. We really want to take our time and melt through this, persuade it. There's a whole bunch of chaotic adhesions in there, so nothing is linear. And so we want to approach this with a whole bunch of different ways of getting that energy into this area. So get creative with your movements. The key is, though, that we're not sliding on the block. We're moving in the fascia. We'll take 3 more breaths up here. And then when you're done, let's roll back down. And now we're going to go through a bit of a different motion. So let's bring that top leg on top again to add a little more pressure. Keeping the feet up off the floor. This time, as you exhale, slowly let's straighten the legs. As you inhale, bend the knees. We'll just take 3 more breaths this way. Connect to your root, that squeezing action. If you're finding this challenging, that's going to give you a little bit of a boost. It's going to help align and ground your lower body as well. And after this last exhalation, let's just bring the feet back to the floor and just allow that to sink in just a little bit deeper. And now we are simply going to lift those knees off the block and we're going to bring it up a little bit higher. So we're going to do 3 different heights this way. And again, to begin, let's start by going through a process of exhaling, lifting the feet up off the floor. Inhale, drop them back down to the floor. Let's do 3 more breaths. Use that root to give you greater support and grounding. And then when you're ready, let's roll up.
So all you're doing is just rolling, bringing your right knee to the floor, and then you can bring your arms into more of a plank position. And as you're doing this, make sure your shoulder blades are aligned as well. Don't shrug your shoulders up. Bring the shoulders back and down, and then the core will be engaged for this as well.
And if you feel you can get a little bit of a wiggle, moving that leg back and forth, just to persuade it to sink in a little deeper. Whatever brings you the greatest sensation is what you want to be doing. There's a lot of different ways we can create additional energy and movement into the area. Even bending the knee slightly will change things up a little bit. So play around with your own body, but I really like that toggling. I feel like it really helps to nudge that block more deeply than if we don't add that piece in, especially in the legs where the tissue is so dense and thick. Let's take 3 more full, slow breaths here. And then let's roll back down to our initial position. And then using that top leg for added weight. Let's take those feet up and exhale as you straighten those legs. And work that root. You can either stay rooted through the whole motion, or you can root as you exhale, release as you inhale. Play around with it, see what works for you. Isn't it amazing the amount of pain we have in our body that we're not even aware of until we search for it? And that's where this is so amazing, to take away that fear component. Because if pain comes to the surface out of the blue and you've already connected to it on the block, you've already met that sensation. So it is simply a sensation that we are given information to know, and we know what to do with that, as opposed to it just coming to the surface and us being scared. That takes us in a very different path than if we know how to address the pain. 3 more breaths here. And then just bring those feet back to the floor And just feel that block sink a little more deeply as you relax here. And then let's just move that block a little bit higher toward the hip. And there's no specific spot, we're just moving it to a different place. And then we'll start again with exhale, lift the feet up. Inhale, drop them to the floor. This is definitely one of those classes you want to put a smile on your face. It helps with that sensation of pain. And let's bring your mind into the equation. Connecting the body and the mind is very powerful. Imagine the adhesions releasing. Whatever images work for you, watching an iceberg melting or anything like that. Just get that concept of heating and melting, and then moving those toxins out of the body. You can imagine black smoke leaving the nose. And then when we're ready, let's roll up. One last time on this side. And once you feel stable, see if you can wiggle that block a little more deeply. We're going to take 3 more full slow breaths up here, and after that full exhale, hold for a few moments before engaging that inhalation. And then when you're done, let's roll back down. Bringing both feet up off the floor, and we'll complete this side with some extensions with the exhale, bending the knees with the inhale. And we'll take 3 more breaths this way. And then just bring your feet to the floor. Just allow that block to sink as deeply as it can for the last couple of breaths here. And when you're ready, let's just take that block out of the way, and then let's go back onto your back and go back to that initial stretch. So taking that left leg, that outer thigh into that left hand, and then you can take your lower shin with your right hand and pull that leg around, and just notice if you feel any greater flexibility in there. How do you feel, Quinn?
Yeah, I still feel like restriction in my glute, because this can also be primarily more of like a glute stretch, but it's crazy how by releasing the IT band, it's increased the range of motion in this stretch. So Wonderful. Yeah, I feel a huge release.
Excellent. Okay, now let's feel what that right side feels like. So same stretch, opposite side.
Yeah, this is way more stuck.
So let's just really connect in. We're going to take 5 nice slow breaths here. Close your eyes. See where the fascia is gripping the bone. Wherever you have pain or tension is where you have adhesions sticking onto the bone. So when we get into the process, use your mind and send the oxygen in the blood right to those areas, as well as the areas that we're working on, to create that release. And now let's release the leg and dive into that right side.
All right, just gonna switch on over here, and then block will be flat on the floor. Again, we're using that edge of the block here, the closer edge to your head. And let's have this pretty well at the base of the IT band, just above the knee like this. And as we inch it up or move it up towards in the next positions, you can only really get it so high if your hip's gonna be on the floor. So get it to the highest area once we get there while still having the hip on the floor. And then we'll just bring the other leg directly on top, and you can either stay up on the elbow into more of a side plank, or you can bring yourself flat to the floor.
To begin, let's inhale, drop the feet to the floor, exhale, feet up. Just nudging the IT band from the bone to begin. After this next breath, we're going to roll up.
We'll just come up to the elbows. Let's exhale, bring that left leg across, and then plant both forearms on the floor. And then remember to pull the shoulders back and down so we're not shrugging up.
And then just get a little bit of a wiggle, a toggle. Persuade that block in a little more deeply. We'll take 3 more full exhalations here. Really use the power of the exhalation. Your core is like a sponge. With that exhale, you're wringing out all of the debris, the garbage, the waste. You're moving it actively out of your body. We want to do that with every single breath. And then let's roll back down. Feet off the floor. Exhale, extend the legs. Inhale, bend the knees. And you can either stay rooted the whole time, or you can root with the exhale, release with the inhale. And then let's just bring those feet back down to the floor. Let that block sink in this relaxed position as you breathe for a couple of breaths here. And now let's slide that block a little higher up.
So I'm just sliding it a few inches higher because this is probably the highest I'm going to be able to get it in this position. So I'm just finding that in between area right about here.
And begin with exhaling the feet off the floor. Inhale back to the floor. After this breath, we're going to roll up. Do that little wiggle. Find your way in so that we can get as deep as possible here. And maybe you find it goes deeper without that toggle. You play around with it. Have fun on the block. This is your adventure. You are diving through the layers of your tissue, uncovering your past and releasing it so that you are more present. 3 more full, slow breaths here. And then let's have you roll back down. And this time with the feet off the floor, we will extend the legs with the exhale, bend the knees with the inhale. You likely are experiencing one side being more painful than the other. Just become the observer in yourself. We'll do 3 more breaths here. And then you can bring those feet back to the floor and just take a few breaths in a relaxed position, letting that block sink a little more deeply. And now let's just slide that block one more time, a little closer to the hip. And exhale up, inhale feet to the floor. And when you're ready, let's roll up. Align the upper body and do a little wiggle. Use the power of the exhalation, the power of your mind. When you can start to bring it all together, the benefits are exponential. You are melting very frozen, dense, old tissue, old adhesions that have been locked in there for likely years, if not decades. And when you're ready, let's roll back down. And extend with the exhale, bend the knees with the inhale. And we'll do 3 more breaths this way. And then when you're done, just bring the feet back to the floor. And just allow that block to sink a little deeper in your relaxed position. And then let's just remove the block, lie on your back again, and let's check in with that hip stretch, see if we've made some progress here.
Oh yeah, huge difference.
Wonderful. So let's just hold and take 3 nice big slow breaths. Own this new space. Pump oxygen into that new area that we've just opened up. All of those cells are hungry. They haven't been fed properly. So as soon as you allow that oxygen, it's going to take it so that you can keep pumping more oxygen into that space. And slowly release, and then we'll come back up to seated. So Quinn, how do you feel?
Feeling really good.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's not as intense working my T-bands compared to when I was bodybuilding, so.
That must be a nice break then.
Yeah, it feels like they need a lot of work, but they aren't nearly as compressed as they used to be, which is good. So, now I'm moving in more of the right direction. So,
wonderful.
Feels really good.
As an add to this, if you're in the member site, if you can add day 2 of the knee and hip series, you're going to be tying all this work together. Thank you very much. Tomorrow we target the hamstrings for day 3.